In this equation, there are a couple things we should note. First of all, it tells us to write our solution in interval notation. Remember, interval notation takes our answer and puts it either in brackets or parentheses. Another thing to remember about interval notation is that if x is greater than our answer, it may go off into positive infinity. If x is less than our answer, it may go off to negative infinity. Whenever we have positive and negative infinity, remember to always put it in brackets. The next thing to note about our problem is that there is an absolute value. When we have an absolute value in an inequality, it is just like solving it in an equation. Our first step is to isolate the inequality to one side. In this problem, we are going to isolate the inequality to the left side. So, our first step will be to subtract 4 over to the other side. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So our inequality will be x minus 2 is greater than or equal to a negative 1. We know for this equation, if x minus 2 in absolute values was equal to 1, we would have no solution. However, since we have a greater than or equal to, we will have a solution. One thing you can do for this problem is plug in values for x. When we plug in values for x, you can pick any number you want. I tend to pick negative 1, 0, and 1. When we plug these numbers in, we will see what we get. First off, let's plug in negative 1. Negative 1 minus 2 gives us a negative 3 with absolute values around it. Remember, absolute values turn negatives to positives, so this would be a positive 3. The statement then reads, 3 is greater than or equal to negative 1, which is a true fact. Next, let's plug in 0. If we plug in 0, we get 0 minus 2, which gives us a negative 2 in absolute values. Remember, absolute values turn negatives to positives, so this sentence would read 2 is greater than or equal to negative 1. Next, we are going to plug in 1. 1 minus 2 gives us a negative 1. In absolute values, the negative 1 then turns to positive, so it reads 1 is greater than or equal to a negative 1. In all these examples, we see that the statement is true for all of them. When this happens, we now know our solution can be all real numbers. Since we know our solution is all real numbers, because every number plugged in for x will give us a true statement, we can then write this in interval notation. To write all real numbers in interval notation, we will know that they go from every negative number, so negative infinity, to every positive number, positive infinity. And remember, with infinities, we always put parentheses. So, this answer will be letter C.